Greetings,
Okay.
fellow scholars. Here we are with one of our groups from our quantitative literacy course. We're having a Zoom meeting and asking some questions about how to do our week 5 assignment. We're going to attempt to give you a small sample of what this assignment might look like. We're each simply asking a question off the top of our head about our Excel reports. We're going to take turns sharing our screens and answer the questions. We're going to answer our questions using math vocabulary and talking about the graphs and charts that we built. These questions are samples and they're abbreviated. By no means are they meant to be exactly what is expected. This is just a quick, short sample. So let's have a look. Arcos is going to go first because she was our brave volunteer. Actually, she was assigned, but she's still brave. All right. So Arcos has a question, and she's going to ask one of us to answer her question. Keep in mind that when you do this, you will have pre-distributed your questions. You're just going to kind of get a sample of what it looks like. So Arcos, what's the question that you want to be asked?
My question is about problem number 1, the scale of the universe. What did you find most interesting? And what did you learn about doing the work and making the graphs and choosing the item from the scale of the universe pictures that we chose?
Okay, so her question was kind of long, so I'll go ahead and ask it to her. But you would have pre-decided who was going to ask you this question. So Arcos, when you looked at your scale of the universe and you were trying to find things that looked interesting, what was it that you found most interesting?
I found that the hummingbird was the most interesting. It's small stature, compared to basically everything else in the universe, and how fast it moves because of its size, that it can just hover around and move very nimbly through everything. That was just my favorite thing that I saw in there.
Very nice. And to give examples to everybody, a couple things that I would like to see differently about the answer is to zoom in on the hummingbird. I would also like it if you wouldn't mind mentioning when you say the size of the hummingbird, I would like to hear about that negative exponent. And then maybe even mention, and if I can't see it, what does it say, 10 to the negative 1.8? And say that if I saw this on a calculator, it might say 10 to the e minus 1.8. So just when you answer that question, everything was fantastic. Just throw in a little bit more. When you mention size, give us that exponent and, visually keep it zoomed in for us. Very good. Thank you, Arcos. And then Arcos will stop share, and then I will share. When you guys are doing this as your presentation, you will have it set up so that it can be, everybody's ready. My question is going to be about number 2. I will have pre-planned and pre-distributed my question, and I would like Matt Paul to ask me how I felt about the graphs misleading me to think that President Clinton's unemployment rates were so much worse than President Bush's.
It's a long question too.
It was not. How did you feel learning about how the news tried to lie to you about the unemployment rates of the presidents? How about that? And also keep in mind, you guys, you would have written these down and given them to each other. So you actually would have a list of the questions. All this would all be much smoother in reality. All right, ask me.
Okay, Ms. Benzie, how do you feel after this assignment about graphs and charts that we see in the news, either being truthful or misleading?
Well, particularly the graph that really got to me the most was the one about the president's unemployment rates, because I felt like the news was trying to make me believe that President Clinton had this terrible term of unemployment rates. But then when I was able to actually assess the information for myself and build a correct graph, I learned that there was hardly any difference between them. So it really helped me to see that even when it's reported by national news sources, that I should really assess my information carefully and even try to build my own charts to show the differences. Thank you for asking. Now I would like to ask a question to the third person. So I stop share. And while we're here, I'll also say everybody who's not talking should always keep their microphones muted. And that'll really give us a more professional look. All right, so let's go. Who's number 3 is Matt Paul. What's your question going to be about? And who do you want to ask?
Anybody can ask it, I guess.
You have to pick somebody.
Oh, okay.
And not Allie, because her computer's not working well.
Oh, okay.
Make Ro do it.
Okay, so Ro can ask me how the health chart that we did, I guess, relates to my life.
Tell me. Oh,
go ahead.
Tell me about the health chart that we did and how it relates to your life.
Okay, so we did a chart on type 2 diabetes and other health problems such as high blood pressure and obesity. I have been affected by all of them. And in the charts, we learned different percentages for each of those and how each of those effects can combine into a single horrible experience for life. And we just have millions and millions of people that are affected by this.
Very good. A couple things I would like to see added to that would be to zoom in on one of those graphs so that while you're talking, people can really see. Use your mouse to point to the numbers and talk about our percentages. Even though we have, what was the percentage of all the Americans, we see that the actual percentage graph is better. Can you go to the other one? The other Venn diagram?
Oh, this one right here?
Yeah, with the percentages. All right, so here 63% of people don't have obesity, but that means that 37 37% of people do have obesity. And out of those 37%, 8.5% of them have all 3 of these. So I just want to hear more about the percentages and talk about the numbers when you do this problem.
Okay.
And including, of course, your own personal stuff. But when I say the 12 vocabulary words, that means using words like percentage and probability. If I'm obese, I have a much higher probability of having high blood pressure than not having high blood pressure. So that's the kind of stuff I want to hear on that one. Very good,
oh, okay.
Paul. And then we have Medlock. What is your question going to be, and who do you want to ask it to? How about Arcos asks you, and you're doing number 4?
Oh, what did I do? 100,000.
Well, who does have a question? Do you have one ready, Medlock? If you don't, we can come back to you.
Portion
I'm
here.
not really sure, because I mean it's mostly talking about the tightness of data points and then it's discussing the.
How about I just ask you a question about it, Medlock?
Yes.
What does it mean to have? What does data distribution mean? How can
the average family income here is 49.
Okay, well, this is fine. Does anybody else ready for their question?
Children and moms, dads, uncles.
I'm working.
And women.
I'm working on it.
Okay. What about you, Ro? If somebody could mute their computer, is that you, Medlock? Ro, do you have your question prepared?
I was just going to, here, let me share.
And I fall a little bit to the right of that. I think.
All right.
Holly, can you mute your computer, please? Hover on your, that's okay. Just hover at the bottom of your screen till you see your microphone and it says mute.
I turned the microphone off. I'm not sure why it's still.
I think that I don't know.
I'm having a lot of issues.
That's okay. You know what, Allie? Relax. We don't have that much time left anyway. We're just going to do one more question. So you just sit there and be part of the group for now, okay?
Okay.
Perfectly fine. We have enough examples, I think, to help everybody along. Ro, go on. Who do you want to ask you? Make Arcos do it. Make her ask you a question.
Okay, Arcos, ask me what I learned about business from the flamethrower sales in question 6.
Okay, Ro, what did you learn about the work that you did on question 6 with the flamethrower?
I learned that it is really hard to start up a business. And, I've heard from multiple business owners that you expect to lose money in the first 5 years. But here you can really see where he starts out just losing money. He hits rock bottom at, this point right here.
Well, you would have it more prepared. You don't have to try to talk about that right now.
But pretty soon he starts to make money again. When he breaks even, he really starts to make it. So, if you really push and you really go for it, then typically with preparation involved and planning, then you can make a profit in business eventually.
Very good. And when you guys talk about this one, I would like to hear the words like initial investment, rock bottom. You use break even, make a profit. Those are all vocabulary words. So when I'm asking you guys to find your 12 vocabulary words, I'm just talking about the words we've already used to describe these scenarios. Thank you guys so much. Also, don't forget that you also created your budgets, your financial reports for your budget, time management, and nutritional management for your 4th week. If you had a profound experience with the intro videos, you can ask and answer questions about every single piece of everything you did over the last 4 weeks, as long as you're talking about math vocabulary. You might be wondering, how could the intro videos have anything to do with math vocabulary? Well, you are networking. That's the first step of networking, which is problem solving. And problem solving is what math is all about. So just making those intro videos did progress toward problem solving. So everything that you did, try to show us. How would you show a graph or a chart for those videos? That would be the one question you couldn't, but somebody has already shown me an example about how they show all the videos and they were able to make it work. So take anything that you did over these past 4 weeks, write a question and an answer about it. Groups will exchange those questions. I would have pre-written all my questions and answers. I give one to Heather. I give one to Medlock. I give the big long one to Matt Paul. And then I give even a bigger question to Ro. I'm just kidding. A simple question. You give your questions to people and they're going to ask you your own questions back. So no extra work, no extra graph building. Use what you've already created. Do you guys remember anything that we've already talked about or questions that folks might have? You guys feel like we did a pretty good job? And
I think this has helped a lot.
Very good. And also, you guys see this meeting with this group. I've been having these meetings for 3 days now. So please message me. Let's have a meeting together before you get ready for your group presentation, your team interview. Keep in mind that no 2 people can answer more than 2 questions in a row. So it does have to be bouncing back and forth. You do have to take turns sharing your screen. So it's a good idea for groups to practice before the actual true team presentation. All right, guys, anything you want to say to everybody? How about we all say, until next time, keep being amazing, you rock. All right, you ready? 1, 2, 3. Until next time, keep being amazing.
Being amazing.
Let's try it again. You ready? 1, 2, we'll just start with keep being amazing. 1, 2, 3.
Keep being amazing.
You rock. We rock, you guys. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you on Zoom soon.